What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Footy with an Edge. If you've watched me before, you know I never do this. But Graham Souness, Jamie Carragher, Chris Sutton, and all you absolute trolls that were waiting to jump out of the woods after we went 2-0 down to Forest, get in the bin. Seriously, it has now been 41 Premier League games in charge of Man United for Erik Ten Hag, and he's won 81 points from those games, which is just 3 shy of Pep effing Guardiola. He took over literally the worst Man United side of all time that was going through all kinds of shit, only to then have to deal with Ronaldo, arguably the greatest player of all time, throwing his toys out the pram. And despite all of this crap, do you guys actually remember how we felt towards the end of last season? Most of us believed there was a chance, an actual chance, for us to get top 4 and win 3 trophies. To deliver a feeling like that after only 1 season in charge, that is literally a miracle. And listen, I'm not here to say it's all sunshine and rainbows with Erik Ten Hag, or that this was an amazing comeback or amazing win versus Forest, because it wasn't. But as fans of this club, we need to stay focused on the prize. We want this club to succeed, unlike these trolls in the media who are ready to walk Ten Hag back to Amsterdam the second we have a bad result. And they're also ready to support the Glazers because they've been good owners and look at how much money they've spent. And they keep questioning Bruno's captaincy when it's clear that our captain won us that game today. Now look, the reason I'm saying all of this is because I want you guys to have your own opinions and think about it this way. When have we last had a manager be this successful this early into his United career? When have we last had a manager that actually looks like he could win us a title by challenging the likes of Pep, Klopp, and Arteta? Our club is a mess at the moment because of the Glazers, not because of Ten Hag. All of his successes so far have come despite the Glazers' stinky ownership, and every time a TV pundit comes out swinging for Ten Hag talking about, oh, he spent 400 million, remember that Klopp, Pep, Arteta, Pochettino, De Zerbi, any other manager you want to throw out there, has achieved their successes with better ownership and better club structures behind them. While Erik Ten Hag has had to deal with the shower of shit that is the Glazers and their puppets like Ed Woodward, Richard Arnold, and John Murtough. So let's be a little bit more realistic, folks. I know it hurts when the team doesn't play well, or we drop points, or both. Let's understand that Ten Hag way overperformed last season, and that this season is going to be much harder because we've had a terrible transfer window, we're playing in a new system with a new goalkeeper, and realistically, we will have to wait till year 3 to start even thinking about a title challenge. We have to be ready to see more performances like the one we saw today, and we have to hope that we get into the Champions League spots for next season, and that anything else on top of that is a big fat bonus. Now, if you're still watching, let's talk about the game today and understand why we're not playing well and what that comeback tells us about the team's mentality this season. As always, don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy. Now let's get into it. It is never a dull day with Man United, is it? I was trying to get my streams right to watch the game. I started it at kickoff and the stream kept glitching, so I switched to another one. And when I came back, I saw that we were 1-0 down. And that stream wasn't working either, so I couldn't see the highlights of the first goal. So I switched again, and when I came back, we were 2-0 down. I couldn't believe what I was seeing because Forest aren't a team that scores many goals, let alone score 2 in 4 minutes at Old Trafford. And I thought, here we go again. We're about to concede 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 because that's what we've done in our recent history. Just lost our heads and panicked. And while we didn't necessarily panic after conceding the second, we didn't look like we were going to score either because it was predictable and slow build-up play. You knew exactly where the ball was going with every pass. There were no real patterns of play, but there were some signs of evolution from last season. And I have the perfect clip from the 17th minute to show you guys. We start with Bruno picking up the ball on the right wing after some 1-2s with Wan-Bissaka and Antony over here, and he's about to pass it to Varane, who plays it back to Martinez immediately after, as you can see here. And as Martinez collects the ball, you can see that he has a lot of passing options available to him, but Forest are actually defending with 10 men over here. As we play it along, Martinez opts to pass it to Bruno on the inside over here, and Bruno decides to shoot from about 30 yards straight at the goalkeeper. And I'm thinking, here we go again, another dead attack. But as the shot gets parried out to Martial over here on this side, I want you guys to pay attention to Martial, Rashford, and Dalot's positions. As Martial plays it back to Rashford at the edge of the box, Dalot is actually outside of him in tons of space, and he's actually ready to play a cross into the box. And Dalot is very much the easy option to keep the ball in possession and either put it into the box or recycle it over to the other side, like we normally do. But Martial's little movement from over here to over here makes the space that Rashford needs to get into the box on the outside, because he pulls both these defenders towards him. And so Rashford goes in on the outside and puts in a beautiful left-footed cross of dreams that Christian Eriksen basically can't miss from. And it might sound a little weird to say this, but that play showed me that we are trying to do something different this season. Because look at how many players are inside the box. Last season, we couldn't pay our players to get into the box when Shaw and Bruno were creating chances left and right. It's also clear from the first 2 games that both our wingers have been told to get on the outside, use their weaker foot, and put in a cross. I don't have all the footage here, but I've seen Antony put in at least 5 crosses with his right foot in the first 3 games this season, and I'm not sure he did that in the entirety of last season. So what exactly is the evolution of the system and the patterns of play that we're seeing from Ten Hag this season? Now, going into this game, it was very clear to me that we were going to have to break down a deep block from Forest, but that became even clearer after they went 2-0 up in the first 4 minutes. Forest were defending very much with 10 men behind the ball, and it was up to United to break this team down. And we're all very familiar with how much we struggled to break teams down like this last season, as we barely scored any goals in games like these. But today, we had a slightly different approach. Ten Hag's 4-2-3-1 played as a 2-2-1-5 in possession, with Martinez and Varane playing well inside the Forest half, all because of Onana's sweeper-keeper abilities. Then you had both Bruno and Eriksen, who were playing almost as that dual quarterback role, trying to create chances from outside the box, while Casemiro was actually the one making several runs into the box to get on the end of some of these chances. And both our fullbacks were in and around the box, supporting their wingers by either overlapping or inverting to the edge of the box. And the biggest difference from last season was our genuine fearlessness in pouring numbers into the box. Look at how many of these players can be inside the box at once. You have the front 3, both fullbacks, and 2 out of our 3 midfielders who had the opportunity to get inside the box. That's 70% of our outfield players. And if you guys have watched how Klopp's Liverpool play or Pep's Man City, this is exactly what they do. They create overloads in wide areas to get the ball carrier into dangerous areas somewhere over here, and they have runners from midfield that overload the box in order to provide multiple angles for cutbacks so that the team just scores tap-ins. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm hella excited to see more of this happen throughout the season, because it's just very exciting. Now we get on to the final talking point of this video, and it's all about our Captain Fantastic Bruno Fernandes, because yes, he got a goal and an assist today, but he did so many other things that just represented the spirit of Manchester United in a way that I haven't seen a United captain do since Sir Alex retired. So if you're not a Bruno Fernandes fan, I would actually encourage you to watch this next section, because it might just get you to change your mind. And for the Bruno fans out there, sit back and enjoy. In seasons gone by, when we've been 2-0 down inside the opening 15 or 20 minutes, we've usually gone on to concede anywhere between 2 to 5 goals and lost the game in an embarrassing fashion. We saw this under Ollie, Ranić, and at least 2 games last season against Brentford and Liverpool. But today, I saw a bit more passion, determination, and fight from these players, and that shift in mentality was led by none other than our Captain Fantastic Bruno Fernandes. And I have a few clips here to show you exactly what I'm talking about. In the 36th minute of the game, Forest are about to take this corner that comes into the box, and it's flicked onto Antony into the edge of the box over here, and as he's trying to clear it, you can see Bruno and Antony trying to clear it over here. You can see that we're almost in a perfect counter-attacking opportunity here. We have pace in bundles through Rashford and Martial, and the ball is with someone like Bruno who can definitely find them on the run. As we play along, Bruno plays it off a Forest player over here, and it deflects into the path of the other Forest player that's running backwards. And Bruno puts in a tackle that wins the ball over here, and he immediately gets up and puts a second tackle right over there, which allows Rashford to get onto the ball and run at the Forest defense with Bruno, Eriksen, and Martial in support. Just look at the fight and desperation that Bruno shows in that play. Seriously, tell me one other player who's more desperate to make United win games than Bruno Fernandes. And I'm not just talking about since the time he's become a captain. Since he's joined the club, I've seen him do nothing but try and try and try again to create chances, to score goals, and to influence the game in a positive sense in any way that he can do it. And I'm not done there, because we have to talk about that second goal. We start with Bruno about to take this free kick, and look at how Rashford and Eriksen are just outside the box, making themselves available to Bruno. As we play along, Bruno obviously plays it to Rashford out here, but watch Bruno's movements immediately after he plays it. You can see him trying to dart into the box over on this side, and you can see that Brennan Johnson actually sees this happening. As the Forest players close in on Rashford, you can see that Bruno is actually checking his run to look at Rashford and see what he's doing. And as Rashford plays that ball in, look at how Bruno curves his run to stay onside, and then he heads it back across to Casemiro for a perfectly easy tap in. Seriously, you can't help but admire this guy's brilliance and his attacking intelligence on the pitch. This is clearly a move from the training ground, but almost 90% of the execution is down to Bruno. He plays that pass out to Rashford and then controls his run perfectly, only to then play the perfect headed cross for Casemiro for a tap in. And again, as captain, he has directly influenced this game to get us back level at 2-2. And now our final clip of the video is this sequence of play from the 59th minute that has little to do with Bruno in the build-up, but shows me a real pattern of play that I haven't seen before under Erik Ten Hag. We start with Antony picking up the ball out wide, and pay attention to Wan-Bissaka and Rashford's movements as we play along. Antony drops his shoulders and moves inside, drawing both defenders with him to pass the ball to Rashford over here, and that immediately clears up all this space for Wan-Bissaka to exploit. As soon as Rashford receives the pass, he plays it out first time into Wan-Bissaka's path, and now the entire Forest defense are caught out. So Wan-Bissaka decides to drive on the inside and lay it off to Antony, who goes on the outside and receives the ball in this area. Now, as Antony gets to the byline to cut this ball back in, take a look at how many players we have in and around the box. 5 players are potential passing options for Antony, and this is just crazy to me because we never saw this happen last season. How many times did we play amazing crosses into the box just for no one to be there to tap it in? So as we play along, Antony gets it out onto his right foot and plays across into Bruno, who tries a flick into the goal, but unfortunately it goes just wide. There's just so much that's right with the sequence that we just saw here. Wan-Bissaka and Antony are clearly developing a real partnership on the right side. Antony is actually using his right foot, and he's actually thinking about going on the outside to mix it up for the defenders. And Rashford is doing a lot centrally. We saw some of this happening towards the end of last season, but he's also doing it now, which is great to see. And for once, Bruno isn't the one that's creating things, but the one that's getting on the end of things. So let's put all of this into perspective. This wasn't a game where we were cruising 3-0 up. This was a game where we absolutely shat the bed in the first 5 minutes, and we had to claw ourselves out of a hole. And to see this kind of link up in the final third coming from 3 players not named Bruno Fernandes is very, very refreshing. And I can't stress this specific point enough. None of this happens without Bruno putting in a captain's performance today. He led from the front by setting an example of how to attack and defend. He did most of the work for the Casemiro goal. He got the Forest player sent off, and he scored the penalty that won us the game. So if there's 3 key takeaways from this video and the game today, they are as follows. 1. We are a work in progress. There's an issue with concentration at the club because we don't seem to be starting games sharply like we should be. If we keep going down this path, we might see another 5, 6, or 7-0 spanking this season. Our second takeaway is that we should back our captain Bruno Fernandes because God knows where we'd be without him. And takeaway number 3 is you should back your manager Erik Ten Hag because he's the man that'll take us to the promised land. We just need to be a little patient because the Glazers and all of the clowns they employ to run the club poorly are atrociously bad at their job. And there's only so much the players and the manager can do to overcome these obstacles. And if you've made it to the end of the video, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the support. We just crossed 25,000 subscribers, and I can't wait to show you guys what else is in store on this channel. There's a lot more to come, so thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.